And that
Yeah.
was actually one of the reasons I didn't mind when I had to pivot from being a classroom instructor to working in the TLC, where I was actually kind of I was excited for it because it meant that I could put my grade book down. I didn't have to have an interaction with a student and go, okay, that was an A or that was a B or this was 10 out of 12, or because that's artificial to the experience. And I can just focus on, did you get what you needed today? You came here because you had a question. Did you get that question answered, or maybe like, do you now have other questions that are going to lead you off on some really awesome journey that I was able to help you take? And you're not anxious about it because you're not worried about whether you're going to get graded or whether you've irritated the other students in the class because they've had to wait for you to get your question answered. How many times in the classroom have you not raised your hands because you thought, oh man, like if I raise my hand and ask this question, people are going to have to
Oh, it,
listen to me have this interaction with the teacher for the next couple of minutes.
20 times per class.
I mean, it was me quite often because I'd have things
Yeah.
and then I would go talk to the teacher after class, but like I would, stop myself
Yeah.
short of extending my own learning experience out of deference to the other students in the
Yep.
classroom,
All the time.
uh, which is a courteous thing to do, but then you're stopping your own learning experience. There are a lot of things that get in the way of actual learning in the classroom. And this is why things like what you're doing with Jeff, right? With the learning code, these interviews, going to tutoring centers, building a community on campus,
Mhm.
but also just ultimately thinking about your own learning experiences belonging to you. It's not on your transcript. It doesn't happen in the classrooms. I think ultimately you have to think of yourself as the master of your own learning universe. These
Mhm.
classes that you take, they're all sort of cells in your body. They're very defined experiences. They all sort of have their own rules for operating. And once you're out of that cell, you're into some other domain where the rules are different and things behave a little differently. But all that kind of makes you up as a learner. And ultimately, at some point, I think that the hope is that you, amidst all of that, can find something that has meaning for you, and that all of that education kind of starts to come together and crystallize into something that you can kind of like becomes a lens that you can look through and be like, oh my God, I can see something. Like I have a direction here. I want to be a teacher, or I want to be a nurse, or I want to work in a tutoring center. Like it all starts to make some sense. But I think at the moment, a lot of people have to, like people get to that stage, but they have to go through so much nonsense to get there first, for that vision to kind of clarify and, yeah, and become real.